to the labor. Again, we have a strong reputation for our quality and the service of our products. So we have a very good reputation there, so we can extend it to 5 years. Technical support. One of the things that we do, and one of the things why people like to deal with Rinnai is the fact that we have 24/7 support. We have a tech line, 365 days a year where you can speak with someone live. You get on the phone and you're talking with, an engineering crew that can walk you through any sort of issues which you may have, whether it's a holiday or not. Very important. The other companies don't have that. And this isn't a call center. This is our own engineering group in Atlanta. So it's not outsourced overseas or anything. Very important for us that we have our people giving advice. Let me just skip over this. These are the seals which it's going to bear. There's a couple of things this slide's in here to point out a few things. With the RL and the RC models, condensing versus the non-condensing units, if you start looking at the heat exchanger warranty, it's 12 years residentially, but then if you're using it in recirculating systems, certain recirculating systems, it's 3 years. Now, if you're doing a home heating project where you're tying the tankless unit in with a hydronic furnace, an air handler, you are looking at 10 years for that heat exchanger. Important for us. This value series here is more of an RV model that we have. Energy factor. Compare all the numbers and we'll talk a little bit later about what they are, what they mean. The energy factor of the non-condensing versus the condensing unit. The Rinnai, again in the yellow, you'll see is a 0.82 on the non-condensing. When it comes to the condensing, it's 0.94 to 0.96. So that's your efficiency, your energy factor. You compare that to some of the other products which you see quite commonly in Canada, such as the Noritz or the Takagi, and you can see how the product matches up in terms of efficiency on its energy. AHRI. Very important that we have, third-party testing, that we're part of this organization, that we have to do tests of our facilities. We are a member, and it's very important to us. Not everybody is. We basically have 6 units. BTU ranges from 120,000 to 237,000 BTUs. 6 outdoor models, 2 of them are condensing. We have flow rates, a range of flow rates from 3.2 to 6.6 gallons per minute. Bear in mind that's based at a 60 degree Fahrenheit delta T, which is important. We could probably expand on that a little later if time allows, groundwater and why that's important. Rinnai has 6 models that are Energy Star qualified. Very important. And we'll bear that label. Skip over some of this. Talk about lower activation and minimum BTU rates for the unit and why that's important. How the unit works. With minimum BTU, on the non-condensing versus the condensing models, again, the same products, and in terms of the minimum BTU rate for our product, how it works. You can see the Rinnai values at 9,900 and the condensing at 9,500 are significantly lower. Also important to that is the activation rate in terms of gallons per minute. Activation rate for the unit as it senses water and starts the cycle, the sequence of operation.
Is that what some people call the cold water sandwich?
No, the activation rate is actually the time the customer turns on his tap. In order for the unit to start, it needs a minimum of 0.4 GPM to start the sequence of operation. So it's a very minimal flow. And what Andrew's saying is ours is very minimum. Take, for example, someone shaving in the bathroom where he doesn't need full 3 gallons per minute or 2.5 gallons per minute. He can turn that tap on real low, and at 0.4 gallons per minute, it'll start that sequence. So we're only burning 9,900 BTUs. Whereas if he turns that tap a little further on, he might be activating the high fire, and it may flow up to maybe 15,000 or 22,000 BTUs. So that flow rate is important. The lower the better.
So we've gone through a lot of effort in this home, for instance, to reduce our amount of hot water we're using. We've got 10 different things we're doing to reduce hot water. So this feature, what you're talking about here is enabling us to go with a lower flow.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Very
Yes.
I wasn't clear on what you meant
Yeah.
at first.
Yeah, sorry about that. I guess I can expand a little bit on that in terms of what that means. Because activation rate is probably, would you agree, it's probably more important than the minimum BTU rate. Minimum BTU rate is more impactful on groundwater temperature if you have a higher groundwater
But
temperature.
there's a direct correlation between the two.
Yeah, there is.
Definitely. Yeah, you need both.
Well, especially if we have preheated water coming in. Right, if we have it from the solar thermal, it's already running hot, so
Okay.
your delta's lower.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we need to be able to run really low on these things.
Yeah.
Your minimal BTU will be very important in that case. That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out. Here's what Ken was referring to in terms of activation rate and why it's really important. You know, the ability to just turn it on, turn and tap on just a little trickle. Hot water may not engage. You need to have that minimum before it turns on in terms of water flow. If you're looking at about a half a gallon per minute or more to operate the unit, it's not going to turn on if you are shaving, as you mentioned. I think I have a graphic of shaving here. At 0.4 gallons per minute, the unit will actually deactivate at 0.26 gallons per minute as well. I mean, that's the first sequence of the operation. Very important. Shaving, low flow applications. Other manufacturers have put in buffer tanks as well, to kind of offset that because the unit can't engage at such a low value. But then you start running into the whole energy factor concern, which we talked about. You're losing your energy worth there. Again, a snapshot of some of the other products. I mentioned, this is nice to put in there because I mentioned the hydronic furnace. The bottom left there, if you were using a unit in a whole home heating application. A tankless unit with a hydronic furnace to heat the house as well.
So what's the difference between a hydronic boiler and a hydronic furnace?
Well, the hydronic furnace is basically an air handler. That's what it is. It's an air handler. A boiler unit would be used more with
In-floor heating.
in-floor heating.
Hydronic heating.
Hydronic, yes.
We're talking about tankless, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. One of the things that Renai has done, that we're trying to spend a lot of time using a pull-through strategy with our products, getting the knowledge out there. We have a strong brand awareness, but there's still a lot of work. Ken's a trainer. We can attest to this in terms of just educating people, what the technology is, how it works, the challenges that you're going to have with water quality on both products is going to be the same. Challenges that you're going to have with cold water in certain scenarios is plumbing related. You're going to have it on any product. So there's quite a bit of education that needs to be done. So we're doing a lot of advertising, in builder magazines. We do a lot of the major trade shows. Yes, we deal with Mr. Homes and Home and Garden TV. If, like my wife watching that all the time and having me change everything in my house, we heavily advertise through there, just to again to educate. Call center support. I talked about the support that we have for technicians. It's very important that if a technician runs into a situation, we have somebody available at any given time. If you're out of hot water, it's crucial. So we have multiple call centers. We have a call center for the homeowner. We also have call centers 365 days a year for technicians. It's very important for us. Skip over that. I'm shining a laser over here. We have a series of 800 numbers, and they're separate. We like to have a separate 800 number. It is a separate number for the tech line.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So just when a technician's coming, what's going to happen is if somebody is doing an installation or they're troubleshooting in someone's home, these technicians are going to have the ability to walk them through. Okay, what are we looking at? And they're not going to hang up until they go through how the unit's installed, how it's running. They're going to look at everything. And they're well versed to look at other systems in the house, not just the tankless unit, which is very important as well. Right? Applications and sizing. I mentioned looking at a beautiful house like this, which is using more of a electricity for heating requirements. It's great to have an application engineering group that can kind of compare notes, let's look at the load calculations of the house, here's how we can do it with, gas heating, versus electricity, and compare just the data. Very nice, and we have a group that's available for that, which is great. And they're all mechanical engineers. Parts and warranty, we like to maintain, a strong network of parts, whether it's, at companies like Echo Heating, where we have parts that are available. We do, with our warehousing, we do have the ability to ship everything out within a day anyways, but it's very important that we can have something off the shelf and have the support to match that.
At one time, the knock on tankless technology was that the flow rates were really low. So today, would it be possible for someone to have 2 showers at once, let's say, or someone having a shower and running the dishwasher?
Absolutely. Yeah, you would need, the product would need to be sized based on your needs in the house. And of course, your home dynamic changes as well. Teenagers.
Yeah, like in a house like this, we've got low flow faucets to start with, or the shower head's low flow, plus we're using rainwater heat recovery, which reduces so much hot water we're using again.
Mm-hmm.
And you start adding this all up, you could probably, if you can do, what you said, six gallons per minute or something, that we couldn't use that in a lifetime in this house.
Mm-hmm.
You could have everything running and wouldn't use that up.
Yep. Well, it's important too, I think, and also analyzing the house too with shows like Home and Garden Television, promoting, big rain heads. What is the impact in terms of flow with something like that running a shower?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you gotta look at the pros and cons. We do a lot of training. We're trying to do a lot more